So, I want to ask you a question, folks. Did you know that occultist Alice Bailey predicted that by the year 2025, that what we are experiencing worldwide right now, today, would happen? Because she actually predicted the events, channeled them, and we are watching this entire plan form out. That there is an initiation going on to initiate everybody into esotericism, even in the church, called the Great Apostasy. Folks, an externalization of the hierarchy that she wrote on page 281, Alice Bailey wrote this. Thus, a great and new movement is proceeding, and tremendously increased interplay and interaction is taking place. This will go on to AD 2025. Did you hear that, folks? The year 2025 is specifically mentioned by an occultist who channeled fallen watchers. Why is this year 2025, which is 2 years away, so important? Well, folks, I'm going to deal with this, and I'm going to explain why I'm going to deal with this subject, because in the scriptures right here in Ephesians chapter 5:11, it says we are to have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove or to expose, to refute them. The word fellowship means to be in league with. Don't join in with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose, refute them. And this is the job of the church, and the church is failing on so many levels, especially when you have an occultist like Alice Bailey do this. In the Externalization of the Hierarchy, she channeled this. Thus, a great and new movement is proceeding, and tremendously increased interplay and interaction is taking place. This will go on until the year 2025. During the years intervening now and then, very great changes will be seen taking place. Now, at the Great Assembly of the Hierarchy, held as usual every century in the 2025, the date in all probability will be set for the first stage of the externalization of the hierarchy. So, folks, like I said, if you have just joining me for the first time, you're not familiar with what Alice Bailey is talking about a hierarchy. A hierarchy is, she calls watchers. These watchers are seen in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 there and 4. These are the entities, the fallen angels that came down and corrupted humanity and made the Nephilim giants. Okay? That's who she's channeling. That's the hierarchy. The hierarchy is in 3 levels, according to her. You have 2 in the spiritual realm and 1 on a city called Shambhala. Shambhala is a floating city around the earth, and sometime it went under the earth, and it's a city. It's where 7 spirits, leading hierarchy, live with their cohorts to initiate humanity into a new world order. That's no other way to put it. A new order of the ages, a new golden dawn. That is exactly what is the goal here. And so she was channeling these spirits, this hierarchy. The hierarchy is seen actually in Ephesians chapter 6 here. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this age, and against the spiritual host of wickedness in heavenly places. So what these spirits do, this hierarchy of principalities, powers, and rulers of darkness, and so forth, etc., take captive people to do their will. And so they take captive by initiating certain groups of people through what is known as overshadowing or contacting them somehow, and having those entities in them, and they get deep information how to make a brave new world of equity, freedom, liberty. Everything is groovy, man. You smoke them as you got them. We're going to create a paradise. And so this mindset is the crux of this hierarchy. It hoodwinks humanity, thinking they're doing something good, but actually it is very nefariously bad. So that is what the hierarchy is. So the hierarchy is divided into these kingdoms. 2 of them are above the earth, and 1 of them floats in the lower atmosphere of the earth. And at some point in time in the occult literature, it went underground, known as a city under the sea, a city under the mountain or a city under the hollow of the earth, where high-level shamans and people who practice the darkest of the dark arts astral project to or go into, and they describe this city as a virtual arcade-like existence. They're like games being played. They, like I said last week, they see these dark-eyed kids there, and they see these entities, and it seems really great. It seems like there's roller coasters and all this stuff going on there, and depending on the time and era they live in, but it first appears as a very jolly, happy place, and then as they continue to astral project in it, some of them go to meet their leader or meet guru or whatever, some entity that would tell them how to acquire more power to control and dominate more people in their area, and how to do that, and how to do sorceries and so forth and carry it out, and how to conjure more spirits out to help them carry out whatever plan they want for them. This is high order dark art stuff, and so that is called Shambhala, and you'll hear that in her writings, okay, when you hear that. So that is the hierarchy. Paul identifies them as the principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, and the hosts of wickedness in heavenly places that take captive people. So we don't wrestle against human beings, it's the entities, and we need a lot more wrestling going on, especially in these days. And so that's what the hierarchy is. So we're going to go in and look at a few things here about this hierarchy. Let's go to the next slide. And she goes on page 281. She channeled this too. And I quote, "Thus, a great new movement is proceeding and tremendously increased in interplay and interaction is taking place. This will go on until AD 2025. During the years intervening between now and then, very great changes will be seen taking place. The present cycle from now until that date is called technically the stage of the forerunner. It is preparatory in nature, testing in its methods, and intended to be revelatory in its techniques and results." What is she talking about? Well, this is pretty diabolical. So she says, this stage that will go on until the year 2025, which is 2 years away, will be technically called the stage of the forerunner. A forerunner of what? So you got to ask the question. So I'm going to explain what she defines a forerunner. The forerunner is the externalization of the will and the purposes of the hierarchy to manifest itself on earth so they can appear later on. And in order to appear, they're going to bring forth their matria, they call him Master Jesus. They want to bring the Antichrist, that's who we call him, the Antichrist, onto the planet. How? By taking over all the cultural mountains of influence and initiating humanity to accept their ways, their world, and their mindset for equity, freedom, liberty, and all these nice words you're hearing today is straight out of the mouth of the hierarchy. And it says it's preparatory in nature. In other words, there's a preparatory phase what's needed in order to bring all the cultural influencers together: arts, entertainment, bring education, sciences, so forth, etc., even religions and families and everything into this new mindset by taking over the government, all that stuff, taking over the military, and put this initiated mindset in there about this. Basically, it's a false reality. And these people are technically being brainwashed by these entities to prepare the way for the coming one known as the Antichrist. So the time seen before the year 2025 is called the stage of the forerunner. And it is preparatory, and you got to prepare the world to be able to accept him. That is seen in the book of Revelation and identified who these people are that they're preparing. They're called the great men and merchants of the earth, Revelation chapter 17 and Revelation chapter 18. It talks in Revelation 18, they have an OIC moment. We just got hoodwinked. We were wrong. Babylon the Great is gone. Everything we were hoped to build, this paradise called Babylon, is not the paradise we want. It's being destroyed. because that's the purpose of Babylon, is to destroy humanity. The devil comes to kill, rob, and destroy. So before that, you're going to hoodwink everybody into thinking you're going to achieve a utopia, just to put it mildly. And it's testing in its methods. Okay, and intended to be revelatory. So it's testing, always testing. I can go back and show you all the way through history, which I won't do right now, and I did already in earlier videos, how these people have brought about these ideas in a revelatory fashion. For example, in late 1700s, there, early 1700s, you have Malthusian doctrine. You had the thought process that brought about the French Revolution. And you had the beginning foundation of totalitarian communism coming in and everything. So you have all this stuff taking shape. And then you had already an existent totalitarianism as the way that rules through an oligarchy to impose its will upon the serfs. That's always been there, but this is going to be revelatory, that it's going to get more refined how to do it on a worldwide stage, where the rule of the few rule everybody else. Okay, and as Alice Bailey, like I mentioned before, said that the hierarchy, these fallen entities chose 3 not perfect systems to do that. They like these. They like the totalitarian, which means fascist, social, democrat, and communism. 3 of the most failed systems on this planet, and they like. And they want to implement that. So you have this revelatory process bringing about. Then later on, you had Karl Marx and stuff write his manifesto and all that. It's just revelatory. Let's go back to the slide here. It's testing in its methods and techniques and results. So there's going to be a stage before 2025 where there's going to be a test runs. So from a long time ago, I'm going to go back to probably last 22 years. They had these things, the Rockefeller Foundation and different places, where they start these in-depth scenario plans on how to plan for, in case there was some sort of illness that was somehow released, what are we going to do about it? And so they had these plans, okay? They were revealing what they were going to do and why they want to do it. They even laid it out. I have some of them. I have the scenario plan by the Rockefeller Foundation that I shared on not too long ago, what they want to do. And I showed you the result of what the UN wants to do and all this stuff about all the sustainability thing with under this large pro Save the Planet thing called the Program of Action. And I told you that it was lined up with Agenda 21, which is Agenda 30, which objectives were to ensure that population, environmental, and poverty eradication factors are integrated into sustainable development policies, plans, and programs. That means they need to eradicate poverty and save the environment by eradicating the population. It's in there. It became part of UN policy. It's a matter of fact. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's right there. And so there you see this stuff preparatory in nature taking shape. Okay. And what happened, my friends, during 2020? What was released? Now let's read this. The stage of the Forerunner is it's preparatory in nature, testing in its methods, intended to be revelatory in its techniques, and it's looking for results. So you have that was unleashed. In New Year's Day in the UK, I think it was London, they had a big light show and glorifying AI and these, what do you call it, the laser light holograms and AI, and how AI was going to control everything. We're on the throes of AI, about ready, a big, huge AI system ready to do that. They want to go to cashless societies with digital currencies. We're seeing that. We're seeing collapse of the banking system getting ready to come in full swing right now. Just look at the news. Look at some stuff, folks. And techniques and results. They want techniques and results in order to gain control of the entire world. This is the devil mocking God's sovereignty. And the devil controls as the divine puppet master, pulling every string, and wants to control everything. He's going to do so through enlightened people who have been initiated into the plan. That is pretty much what is going on. And we're seeing these things, have we not? Okay, and so on page 81, she goes on and explains how this is done. You see that the Kohans, and I put the meanings here of what these mean, okay, what she's talking about here, so you can understand it. So you can see, therefore, that the Kohans, the elite occultists, the upper echelon occultists, and the masters, the master occultists, the initiates, those seeking higher occultic levels of initiation, who help initiate the following: world disciples and servers. World disciples and servers are people who really don't know the occult nature of the people up top. And the disciples, those are who are brainwashed, not knowing the occult. And aspirants means who they are trying to recruit. That means everybody affiliated with a hierarchy are all at this time passing through a cycle of great activity in the adjustment necessitated by the rapidly advancing alignment. Members of the hierarchy are fitting themselves for the objective work of public expression. And what does she mean by public expression? Public expression, folks, is they want to express their will openly in order to prepare for the Antichrist to come on and for them to come back. Externalization of the hierarchy is about that. And their plan of using seed groups, these are seed groups. And the top-down, bottom approach to initiate the entire world in esoteric thought, to prepare them to accept a utopia that really is a collective hell. That is exactly what that means. Okay? So, let me go to the next slide here. And how this has come about here in Externalization of the Hierarchy on page 193 kind of helps understand what these people are doing. And Alice Bailey says that she has made this a practical application, and this immediate illustration of teaching the Anna, meaning about, glamour, illusion, the Maya, means sorcery from light from the other side, because the whole world problem has reached a crisis today, and because of its clarification will be the outstanding theme of all progress, educational, religion, economic, until 2025. So what she's saying, that these people that I mentioned, she mentions later on page 281, these elite occultists, these masters, these disciples, aspirants, this is how they're doing it. This is how they initiate. Okay, they use illustrations about glamour. Okay, illusion and sorcery from light from the other side. This is satanic, folks. What's this stuff about glamour? Well, I'll tell you what it is. They make equity sound so wonderful. And if you don't agree, you're squashed like a bug. You're a bigot, and you got to understand, these people are demonically inspired. They're probably overshadowed, meaning they've been possessed. And by overshadowing, possession means that you retain your mental faculties as a rational human being and not some wild-eyed drooling somebody out in the street like Legion was. But these are people placed in high positions of power, overshadowed, and they are on a crusade to crush all that's decent and good and reshape it and build it back to a better world of equity, sustainability, right human relations, and we see some of the right human relation ideology being portrayed in Democrat-run cities. So the perverse and profane are exalted. The good people who pay the taxes are demonized. Okay, and you go, this is crazy. Why would anybody do that? Well, they have been hoodwinked. They have been glamorized by a new world order. They're given an illusion that this is how to create a perfect world. In order to create this perfect world, as she says, it's through the Maya sorcery, by using light from the dark side. That's what it's really saying. The illumination from the dark side sounds so good. Here, Eve, have this apple. You'll be like God. You will control everything. So you you'll be godlike. You can control your world. You don't need God of the Bible. You just need to control it. And you can be the, kings and queens of the earth. That's exactly what they are doing. And they're initiating this brave new world to do it. Next, an externalization of the hierarchy on pages 298 and 99. She adds this to the year 2025. It says the hierarchical determinations are concerned were postponed, but owing to the unexpected preparedness of humanity can take place not prematurely but securely in the fullness of time. This fullness of time as regard to the particular planning which we are dealing is from now until the year 2025. A brief period of time, indeed, in which we see the consummation of the larger purposes of the planetary logos. And I wrote down the definition of what she means by planetary logos. Means using telepathic initiation called rays to carry out the plan to implant their ideas in the mind of humanity to blindly accept or else, okay? They work through three major centers within his body of manifestation. That it refers to the dark trinity of the devil, the Antichrist, and the false prophet. They want to bring that manifestative body back on earth. Okay, that's what they want. The Bible talks about it in Revelations chapters 9 through 13 there about the beast coming in. Daniel talks about the beast rising out of the ocean. It is talking about the Antichrist system also, where you can't buy, sell, or eat unless you get a mark. All that is involved in that body of manifestation because that's their purpose. How to do so is threefold in nature. The first involves the ability of those of the council chamber of Shambhala. Remember that city floating around to initiate. They're the ones responsible for initiating the entire world to react to and absorb extra planetary energies and use them in an intraplanetary sense. What in the world is that mumbo jumbo talking about? And absorbing extra planetary energies we'll get into a little bit later. But what they're talking about is to control the opposition. You control and absorb the opposition. You flip it around and use it to your advantage. Why? Bring about the control of the planet under the rule of the hierarchy through human agents to do their will. Now, you're saying all these people are demonic and they're in the halls of government. I'm not saying every single person in the halls of government is involved in this. I'm not saying that at all. Not at all. I'm not saying that at all. There are just a small cadre of people. It's a small oligarchy, and what they have a hierarchy. So at the top, they're there, and then below them, those below them don't know the depths of evil that these people are implying. They think it's good, and they're initiated to initiate other people who think this stuff is good. Then they're initiate another group of people who don't know a thing about the occult world, but they have great ideas, like the Council of Foreign Relations. They have great ideas to solve the world's problems, and we better do something. We've got to solve the world's problem. They take good-natured human concerns that are, like taking care of the planet, whatever, and they distort them in order to basically bring destruction into the world. Okay, we're seeing that. Can't drill for oil. How much is gas going up? Are you seeing food shortages yet in your country, and so forth, etc.? Are you seeing the collapse of the family? Are you seeing decent, hardworking folks being targeted by institutions like the IRS coming up? Are you seeing good, hardworking people who love their country being demonized as bigots and called white supremacists when they're not? Are you seeing lies on TV being exposed about certain events? Come on. These people are not squeaky clean. This is by design, by revelatory, well initiate, tried and true, push and pull type of method. Push it, see how far they go, pull back while people get used to it, push some more, and they use it by controlling the opposition. Okay, that's what it means. Absorbing extraplanetary energies is to use controlled opposition. I'll get into that in a minute here. But she goes on and lists some stages here, what we will see before then. And so I want to go through some of these stages because there's 1, 2, 3. Okay. the second stage, you'll see a great expansion numerically in the consciousness of the hierarchy. This predicates a great influx of initiates and disciples, a tremendous inflow of what is historically called angelic essences from the diva or angelic kingdom under the direction of certain divas, fallen angels who have affiliated during the past 200 years with the hierarchy. This again had not been expected so early. So let me interject what she's talking about here. This is the Shambhala. This is that city. These are people contacting these entities, and they're contacting them, and they're becoming initiated. And how are they doing so? So in the year 2020, up to the year 2025 and beyond, that 2025 is a switch. It's like a switch. It's designed as a switch. This is why you're seeing hell being unleashed on earth and crazy people pushing crazy policies, crazy whacked out ideas, total nut jobness. If you speak out at a school board against this, you are now a domestic terrorist, some type of stuff. Okay, this is why you're seeing it. Okay, because because these people are in contact with they're channeling. This is exactly what it's saying. So you're going to see an esoteric influx of angelic encounters with the hierarchy. You will see this even in the church. Now, I'm not saying there's not real angelic encounters. I had a few real ones myself, but now they're coming commonplace. Not 20, 30 years ago, you rarely heard of this stuff, and I had some angelic encounters that I can't even explain, but these angelic encounters are actually being contacted and by certain people, even within the church, to bring these certain ideas in there. So up to the point of year 2025, she's saying there's going to be a lot of angelic encounters from the hierarchy. Think about it. I'm just trying to give you some food for thought. Why are you seeing this stuff? Hope it provides some answers for you. Okay, that's what she said. The next thing says the result of this happening has been at the door of initiation through which mankind passes stands wider openly, symbolically speaking, than ever before. And at the same time, the masters are passing with rapidity onto the way of higher evolution. This is due to the fact the initiates are fitting themselves so rapidly to take their places, and disciples are moving on into initiate position so fast that the great pressing forward has become legitimate. In other words, through these encounters on the secular field, and these people are being initiated, and they initiate lower ranked people, it's going to be a flood of initiates to carry out the plan. And so you'll get basically useful idiots and who will plant seeds of equity, sustainability, and white privilege and stuff like that will gain steam and acceptability. That's what she means. This is what they're talking about. This is exactly the plan. And are you not seeing this insane push for it? For the destruction of all that's decent and good and replaced with critical race theory, which is racism to solve racism. Makes no sense. That's why the Bible is far superior than any of this stuff. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's far superior than we're going to right all the wrongs of the past. Well, how far are you going to go back? You're going to go back to Nimrod's time and make the Syrians pay reparations to all the world for creating slavery? This stuff doesn't have no mercy, no justice at all. Equity does not mean, in biblical sense, equity doesn't mean level the playing field. It means doing things, knowing what is good from God, and to do justly, weigh out and balance things justly and fairly, okay? And to love mercy, in other words, cherish, cultivate an attitude of mercy, knowing that they don't know what they're doing, and to walk humbly before God to be able to carry out God's will to create goodness on earth. Very practical, very easy, and sin nature gets in the way of that, doesn't it? So that's the biblical idea definition of of equity. I got that from Micah, because in Micah chapter 5, there, I think it's 4 or 3, it talks about how the ancient, I think Judah or Israel, I think Judah, perverted equity. And so God goes this big long thing and through Micah explaining, and then gets to chapter 5 and you finally get to the definition of equity. So you know what equity actually means, as opposed to, we're going to level the playing field. You people who are rich, we're going to take what your wealth is and we're going to make it, Marxist. We're going to level the playing field. So everybody's equally poor and miserable, while we, the elite, are living at the high of the hog. And how dare you question us, because we know how to live your life better than you do. Shut up, you own nothing, and you will be happy about it. Jawohl, jawohl. You will be happy about it. Yeah. So that's the mindset here. And so you'll have an influx of initiates who are going to, the higher way of higher evolution is to bring the hierarchy back, their ideas of what I just mentioned here, through an influx of an increasing brain dead, stupid people who are going to carry out this stuff. And there's an insane push for it. That's what that means. You'll see that before the year 2025. Are we not seeing it? Does it explain what you're seeing now and what's driving you crazy? How do you like to be labeled a domestic terrorist just for loving your own country and wanting it back to some order and decency? They don't want a independent, state-run, county-run, provincial-run police departments and city-run police departments are all independent. They want a national police force in order to control the people. They want an AI system to be implanted in you to track everything, even your thoughts, I guess. They have plans for that. I read it in the Economic Forum. They have the AI system setting up for digital currency. Once they have digital currency, you lose your property. You can be controlled. Say the wrong thing, we'll take your money away. You have a social credit score. They do that in China. And lots of Biden's administration, Biden's administration are all about China. They laud China. They just recently did. One of their cabinet members lauded China about they're so good about sustainability and doing saving the earth policies over there in China. We need to model that. Yeah, right. Yeah, Peking has the most polluted air on earth. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, this is why you're seeing this craziness here. Okay, and then it goes on to point 3. This third thing you're going to see in externalization hierarchy here on page 280, 298, 99 here is, it involves finally a great awakening in human family and a major spiritual reorientation. So what does she mean first by an awakening of a human family? That means we all develop a Christ consciousness. That's one. We all come in unity, and love is love, and everybody loves each other. And if you don't love each other, we will punish you and take your ability to eat. You have to love what we love. In other words, it's all about reordering and restructuring the family. They want to get rid of the father. They want to get rid of the mother. They want to take the kids and put them into a state-run school, because parents corrupt their kids. If they were just taken and run by the state, and they can teach them equity. They'll let them, little boy, little girl, don't you feel like your mommy? Little boy, well, that means you need these. Here, take these pills. Don't matter if your little thing falls off. Just take these pills because you want to be like mommy. And little girl, you want to be like daddy? Yeah, take these pills. And we lop this stuff off to make you like daddy. And so this is insanity. This is why they want to, that's what that means, in reorder and reshape the family. This goes back to the roots of ancient paganism and in the triple goddess worship, where little boys were self-castrated, and if they lived, they became little girls, the high priestess, and the girls would shave their head and become the priest, and it was a problem in ancient Corinth. I think it's chapter 7, and Paul wouldn't let women with shaved heads speak in church. You're talking directly to a cultural issue where these these priestess or who got saved were coming into church, but he's just saying, let your hair grow out. You can't bring Diana here. We have no fellowship with darkness. We don't collude with it. We don't, we don't agree with it. We're going to refute it. So Paul was actually refuting that in those verses. Now, I digress. I got off on track on that. Well, that's why we're seeing these things. Hope you're learning something, folks, about this stuff. Why you're seeing stuff. And so how are they going to carry this out? So how are they going to carry it out is through a major spiritual reorientation. In other words, a move for a one world religion and an awakening of occultism within the church to apostatize it. That's what they're saying. The word reorientation, also a synonym of it is reset. Just think about that. And that's what they're going to do. This is accomplished by initiating every nation and person on earth into the historical ways and knowledge without people realizing that this is happening. This happens in stages, preparatory stages of initiation from the hierarchy or the Ephesians 6 crowd in order to bring all humanity in alignment with their ideas, their concepts and ways, so they'll embrace one coming known as the Antichrist. This is globalism. Think global citizen. This is a collectivist hell camouflaged by glamorous words like sustainability, inclusiveness, equity, environmental justice. Love is love. Big government's your sugar daddy to ensure your peace and safety and security. God's not your father. The state must be your sugar daddy. That's what they want. And Alice Bailey book, Return of the Christ, like I said last week, sums this mindset up. It says there are two groups that can do much. Those already using the financial resources of the world, and if they will catch the new vision and also see the handwriting on the wall, blank, or stop right there. I'm going to stop right there and interject here. There are two groups. So one is the financial group, and through a process of initiation and with getting their people in there inside a financial realm, they can bring about a new vision of equity, fairness, ESG scores, everything else. Okay, we're seeing that. This will happen before the year 2025, and we're watching it unfold before our eyes. What's the purpose of this new vision? Bringing the old order down in destruction, and secondly, the masses of good, kindly people in all classes and spheres of influence. The way that is written, you can't read it any other way. The old order down consists of good, kindly people in all classes and spheres of influence. You got to bring down them. You got to make them submit by use of financial means. And now we're seeing the rise of central bank digital currency that will sign an executive order for to begin experimenting on in the United States. And other countries, like 19 countries, are already in stages of experimentation. Bahamas went totally digital. Preparatory stages of testing things like this. You'll see that before the year 2025, and we're watching it. The goal is the top-down, bottom-up, micromanage control of all areas of human living under the alluring enchantments of we're going to make a better world. It's done for your peace and safety. In the Externalization of the Hierarchy, page 36 explains this comes closer to the year 25 by the means of the seed group. The seed groups are groups of people who familiarize people with the hierarchical plan that we see today. That's why we see these people going before Congress and they're yelling back and talking about, craziness about this idea and that idea. How dare you, racist? You're calling, they're whacked out. You got to understand that they don't know what they're doing. There's no other way to describe a seed group other than they are useful idiots. As many of these folks in these seed groups have no clue of the satanic connection to Luciferianism that they're following. They think they're creating a better world. They've been hoodwinked. The occult plan involves flipping members of the church to apostatize, to come into alignment with a one world religion and one world government mindset. Well, you got to ask yourself, how do they do this? And the answer is simple: by absorbing certain planetary energies. They do this by absorbing the opposition. This is seen in the Externalization of the Hierarchy on page 223. And I quote, "This is an invocative work." I mean, this is a conjuring work. This is an invocative work, will be the keynote of the coming world religion and will fall in two parts. There will be an invocative, enchanting, work of the masses of the people, trained by spiritually minded people of the world, working in the churches whenever possible and under an enlightened clergy, to accept the fact of the approaching spiritual energies, focus through the spiritual hierarchy, and voice their spiritual demand for light, liberation, and understanding. They'll also be trained in the scientific work and appeal, invocation, or sorcery, practiced by those who have been trained their minds through the right meditation, who know the uses of sound, of formulas, and invocation. Invocation here means invoking spirits. That's what she's talking about. Who can work consciously to focus the invocative art, sorcery cry of the masses, at the same time using certain great formulas of words which will later be given to the race. The Lord's Prayer was given by Christ. So there is going to be, within a certain segment of the church world, religious world, is that they want freedom. The freedom from what? The stodginess. They want to be, and the religiousisim are, as I say, the controlled opposition, and they want liberation and understanding. They want to be free from the shackles of the Bible. So you'll see in woke churches, people saying things like, you really believe the book of Noah? That's just a cute story. That's not really happened. The Bible was not totally, the Bible has errors in it, and therefore it's not, it was written by man, so therefore it's not divinely inspired. And so these people have been infiltrating in the church, teaching these things for centuries. And so pastors go out and they spread this stuff. And so they are more trained in scientific work and appeal, like how to attract money into the church through a market-driven church. Seeker-sensitive model growth. Type of things like that have come in. And they'll use sound and in order to invoke things. That's what they're talking about. She is speaking how here to move the church into the great apostasy through newer revelations and bring the use of sight and sound to create vibes or vibrations, to conjure spirits into a meeting without folks that are even aware that this is happening. So in the years leading to 2025, there will be a big push of enchanting new revelations that use New Age occult formulas, all masqueraded by a selective Bible verses, such as how words can alter and change reality, that one never will ever be affected. You can't judge them. If you're judging anybody doing this, you're judging their heart. You're an evil person. Okay. All we need is love. That's what you're going to hear. All we need is love. And the result, Bible is slowly replaced, so that by the year 2025, those things like wokeism and the Bible's not the inspired word of God, let's ban it because it has hate speech in it. It will be normalized in many churches. It's happening before our eyes right today. And you'll see these things. So Alice Bailey explains the stages, how this is done in Discipleship of the New Age on volume 2 on pages 135 and 136. She explains how by infiltrating the church, by whom she calls a new group of world servers, who will prepare, and I quote, prepare humanity for the reappearance of Christ, the Antichrist here. Pioneers of this group appeared in the 19th century, but the organization as it now exists is of a relatively modern days. And she goes on and explains, and later down here, the purpose is to reform the churches of the many world religions is another aspect of the same work, okay? And this work requires no occult information to be introduced, but other words, you introduce common sense and progressive ideas into theology, and the shift of the ecclesiastical emphasis from the material values into the spiritual, end quote. She is explaining that the first stage we'll see in flipping the church into esoteric ways is by means of deception that involves avoiding the use of occultic ways and means and signs and wonders, instead by slowly implanting common sense progressive ideas into theology. Why? To shift the ecclesiastical doctrines from material values, in other words, sound doctrine, such as Bible teaching, and shift it into a more mystical, Gnostic, esoteric thing of love is love. Oh, well, love is love. And, we're going to be a woke church, and we're going to do all about climate change and sustainability, and we're going to have Earth Day celebrations. We're not going to talk about the Bible anymore. We selected verses, but you can't believe the Bible. You'll see this shift away. I just read it to you. Are you not seeing progressive ideas, common sense progressive ideas being implanted into the minds of many ministers? You explain to me why that happened. I have it right here. This is going to be high gear by the year 2025. That's why you're seeing seeker-sensitive, woke, social justice, flipping churches to accept progressive ideas. Yep. All achievable by human effort. You add to this, she later helps initiate churches to apostatize by embracing false signs and wonders and miracles that likewise draws away people from sound doctrine. And how this is accomplished is through what is known as the good cop, bad cop policy. This is what I want to talk about and try to conclude with this, because I'm going to take a little extra time to do it, folks. Just hang on with me here. This is accomplished by what is known as good cop, bad cop, to expunge planetary opposition to the plan. So what you do, the hierarchy has to come in and control the opposition, saying that we are the good church. We have all the progressive ideas. We have the signs and wonders, the progressive ideas, and we're out to save the planet. We're all woke and all this stuff. Okay? We're the good guy. But those religious people, you heard that? Those religious people. Well, those religious people were made religious by the controlled opposition. Okay? Well, the good cop, bad cop is a salesman routine that where the salesman looks like he's all in it for you. He's the good guy, and pitting you against the owner of the company, who's the bad cop. He wants to charge you buku bucks, but they'll come down a little bit if you do this, a little bit of do that, and you haggle. You never get it. And by the time you get it, yeah, you got a lower price to the car, but through the warranties and tires and everything else you purchase and extras to go along with it, you might as well just pay the original price, because now the price is higher than what you would have paid. That's the good cop, bad cop, selling you a bill of goods, thinking it's the best idea, but it costs you everything. That's the good cop, bad cop thing. Alice Bailey reveals this approach as the means to control those that oppose in the church this plan of wokeism in the church and occult signs and wonders. How? By infiltrating the seminaries and churches and training centers to control the opposition, so that the character of those that oppose them are stained, so folks will reject them as bad religious thugs. In other words, they make religious thugs by initiation without them even knowing they're being turned into a religious thug. Alice Bailey in Externalization of the Hierarchy, page 40 PDF, explains how this works, and I quote, "The two forces are used to increase tension in the world. The forces of materialism streaming out of the three worlds from the so-called dark forces or Black Lodge, and from those groups of lives and workers which are the antithesis of the Great White Lodge." Okay, what does she mean? This is the dark forces, bad cop. The other guys, the Great Lodge there, is they wear white hats. So they're the Great White Hat wearing Lodge, and then you have the evil bad guy, Black Lodge. That's what she's talking about. And the Great White Hat wearing Lodge is a group of overshadowed people possessed by ascended master, sent to inspire and lead people in groups to embrace esoteric ways for a new world by making themselves out as the good guys that are wearing the white hats. Next, the dark forces, or the Black Lodge, becomes the controlled opposition. They're the bad guys. They wear black hats, who oppose the white hat good guys. Any who oppose the occultic hierarchy are labeled as the Black Hat Lodge. Okay, the hierarchy is the Ephesians 6 crowd that will whose will and ways and plans are being externalized on the earth by the year 2025. They will appear as wearing both white hats and black hats, is what I'm saying. So let's go back to Bailey here on page 40, and she brings this point out. It says, the forces of materialism streaming out of the three worlds of the so-called dark forces, the black hat guys, from those groups in lives of the workers are the antithesis of the great, white hat lodge people, okay? There's little that I can tell you about the dark forces. They are not the problems of humanity, but the hierarchy. It's very important. Let me interject here. She says the dark forces, they're not the problem of humanity of the hierarchy. In other words, the hierarchy is with the help of very high rank occultists under their complete guidance and control. No one else is allowed to touch the opposition, only the hierarchy, because they're going to do this work. Because if lower rank people get in there and spout off stuff, people will see through the deception, and the people would wake up to it. So you're going to have the demonic world infiltrating seminaries and churches and so forth, etc., to turn people into a controlled opposition. And she goes on how this is accomplished, and I quote, the task of these forces is the preservation of the form of life and the working out methods and aims which are inherent in the process of manifestation. The black hat wearing lodge is so occupied with the form aspect, and the white hair, the white hat lodge is the conscious aspect. And so basically, the forces of darkness, she goes on and says, they work to preserve that which is ancient and material. Hence, they are preeminently the forces of crystallization, form, and preservation. And they want to attract you to the Bible, so to speak. That's what they're talking about. The dark forces are used to deliberately block the inflow of the occult world's new ideas in life. That's what she's talking about in those things. In other words, the controlled opposition is deliberately there to oppose the white hat wearing people, the good cop, bad cop type of thing. The good cop type people, they want to bring about a new civilization of peace, safety, and perfection, and harmony and unity. But those dark wearing hats want to just they are the haters. They are cruel. They are mean. They're white supremacists. They are bigots. The routine goes on down the line. That's the idea of what these do. These forces, are at work opposing each other. That's what she's talking about here. And in order to create the opposition to become stodgy. This is achieved by that Ephesians 6 crowd, the principalities and powers, by manipulating human sin nature in order to create the opposition that imparts division and strife into the church. I hope you can follow me here. So how do they work is to impart division in the church. They manipulate human sin nature. How they seed biases of stodginess into the hearts of very devout members of the church who have no clue that they're being played, as in controlled opposition. So every evil work enters the church, just as James points out. But if ye have bitter envy and strife in your hearts, glory not and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish. For where envy and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. So if they can get envy and jealousy and strife into the church, the devil can come right on in. So the controlled opposition is to make a bunch of people religiously stodgy, unbending, the type. They make them that way in order to create the conditions of strife, in order to produce a revolution, not a revolution, but a rebellion in the church. So this rebellion will say, we need the white hats. We need wokeness in the church. It's new. It's exciting. We're on the cutting edge. We're just like the culture. Everybody accepts us. We grow our church the market-driven way. We don't need the Bible. We need the Bible for selected verses, but to spout our woke ideology. But then you got the other rebellion that goes on and says, We don't want to be like the religious people. They're haters. They're religious. They're legalist. You know, and we need signs, wonders, and miracles. So rebellion comes in, and strife is injected in the church, and those practicing it don't even know they're in violation of the book of James, creating condition for the spirits of the hierarchy to enter in the church to influence it, to bring it down. Unfortunately, that's what's happening. But the good news is that the gates of hell will not prevail against the church, at least the remnant. But in the last days, it does says that the church will apostatize. So many in the church will fall for this ploy. How they do it, these entities use human sin nature to achieve this, such as the human need to be right and accepted and valued. Okay, so people have this need to be right. So that is flipped to that they become the only right ones in church. The other are the wrong ones in church. If you don't believe in the T of the tulip, you're an enemy of all humanity. If you don't believe in the A of Arminianism, you are an enemy of the people. I mean, and so this stodginess, this legalism comes in, this browbeating comes in, and people begin beating each other up over predestination, never realizing they are on the same side about God's business of saving souls, and that both are very important into the body of Christ. You have the signs and wonders crowd against the other people, not knowing that there are different bodies of the Christ, and some parts are more open like hands and fingers and eyes, but not everybody's hands and fingers or eyes. Some people are what you sit on. Without them, you wouldn't be able to sit on any sound doctrine. Wake up. We're in this together, people. If you're bringing strife and division of the church in the name of Jesus Christ, stop it. You're being played by controlled opposition, and people don't even know they're being played. So people divide over the age of the earth. They divide over the subject of baptism. They divide over signs, wonders, and miracles. No civil debate is allowed. One views himself as God's cutting-edge church, and the old black hat wearing God is the stodgy religious, the enemy of our hour of liberation. Seen any of that lately? That's how the Ephesians 6 crowd stirs up human sin nature to ensure one side is viewed as in a bad light and the other as human saviors to restore the church. How so? Well, human sin nature cries out, I'm right. I need to be validated. I got to validate my existence. I got to be right. I got to validate my importance because it makes me feel good. I got to validate it through dogma. That's where the true treasure of my heart is in my dogmatism. Not in the Father God, not in the Lord God, but dogma. Where's a heretic I can hunt? That's that mentality. So they browbeat and they thump their chest and look at me. Okay, that's the black hat people. That's why the hierarchy does the work, because they know human nature is like this. You also see this in the woke churches saying, you're not loving if you hold the traditional view on gender. You're not loving. You're not kind. If you resist this change, you're a bigot. You're an enemy. How dare you say God not allow you to marry your dog or cat? Love is love. And how dare you not allow Dairy Queen hour in church or in schools to change your children without your knowledge or position or permission? Love is love. Heard anything like that? Alice Bailey channeled how to flip the churches by members of secret societies in seminary who came into seminaries to make a stodgy, cold, browbeating bunch of Christians who are still saved, blood bought by the blood, become this way as the controlled opposition so they can foster rebellion created by strife in the church because people don't like being browbeated to death all the time, right? So that sets the stage for rebellion without folks realizing it. Okay? This is brought out in Externalization of the Hierarchy, page 510, 514, and I quote, the Christian church in many of its branches can serve as St. John the Baptist as a voice in the wilderness and the nucleus through which the world illumination must be accomplished. The church must show a wide tolerance and teach no revolutionary doctrines or cling to any reactionary ideas. The church as a teaching factor should take great basic doctrines and shatter the old forms which they are expressed and held, show their true spiritual significance. Alice Bailey, Initiations, Human and Solar, she writes this: theologies will disappear into the knowledge of God. Doctrines and dogmas will no longer be regarded as necessary, for faith will be based on experience and authority will give place to personal appreciation of reality. The power of the church over the group will be supplanted by the power of the awakened soul in man, the age of miracles, and the disputations as why and how those miracles, with the consequent skepticism of our Gnosticism, will give way to the understanding of the laws of nature which control the superhuman realm and the supernatural stage of the evolutionary process, end quote. What she's saying here in this mumbo jumbo, the evolutionary process is to flip everybody to accept the Antichrist, putting in this brave new world by destroying everything, by implementing a rebellion in the church. How? By a new age of new age miracles and signs and wonders, and then you'll be a superhuman. You will be God. This is brought out in Treaties on White Magic, page 52. She wrote this: man will enter into his divine heritage and know himself as the son of the Father with all the divine characteristic powers and capabilities which are his because of the divine endowment. But in the meantime, what have we? A breaking away from the established tradition, a revolt from authority, whether of the church, of dogma, doctrine, or theology, a tendency towards self-determination and overthrowing of the old standards and of old barriers of thought and divisions existing between people, okay? Hence, we are passing through the intermediate stage of change and of questioning and of rebellion and consequent apparent license. The history of religions and the foundations of doctrine, the origin of these ideas and the growth of God are being subject to research and study. This leads to much disputation or argumentation to reject the old established ideas as to God, the soul, and man, and his destiny. So what she's saying here is that we need to get rid of the old forms and let humanity, just like the New Age movement, find the divine within. You are a God. You are in God class. Not realizing that humanity was thrown out of the Garden of Eden for thinking that they were God. Yeah, they're created in his image and likeness, but that doesn't make you a God. That means you're to govern your world by the fruit of the Spirit, his image, his character of his nature, the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace. That's how you're to govern your world. What? He has shown you, O man, what is good, but to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly before him. That's the image we are to be in. We are to show mercy. We are to, love, joy, peace, so forth. All the fruit of the Spirit is what the image, what we're created. Not Superman. This stuff is infiltrated the church. Nobody addresses it. Nobody talks about it. That's divisive, folks. Oh, no. It's called repentance. So what the purpose of this is to create an atmosphere to reject sound doctrine, reject the Bible, keep folks away from doing it, keep people from exploring, find out why some people want to remain the bottom derriere of the church. Well, they provide a solid foundation to sit on. Why do some people want to be a heel in the church? Well, if you watch your heel, you're going to fall down. Try walking without your heel. And you got to realize we're all on the same side. Okay? But they want to keep folks away from this. They want to draw them to newer revelations imparted by the divas of the fallen angel kingdom. And they want to view themselves as the good guys, as the liberating factor to get away from the oppression of the dogmatic people. So they view themselves as the good guys by having them exchange true Bible understanding with dogmatism. That's the bad guys. And the bad guys, they are all about ritual and form, and they're stodgy and they're religious, and the white hat wearing people are the good guys because they want the wokeness in the church and the signs and the wonders. Let me qualify. I have nothing against signs and wonders, but I want real ones, not the fake. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So they stir up the need to be validated and be something by group control. That's basically what she's saying. And they foster this thing of rebellion by creating strife and envy in the church. Or you have and they don't, and you've seen, you know the routine. So they help foster the treasure of one's heart to be in one's dogmatism. They are in browbeating. The treasure of your heart is in the signs, the wonders, the miracles, the fables, the bad doctrine, the false promises. Your treasure of your heart is just focused so on that grabs your heart. You want to see these things. There's nothing wrong with wanting to see them or anything like that, but you got to understand where is the treasure of your heart, okay? And she says the purpose of this is to capture the youth. And she says in Externalization, the hierarchy on page 108, the youth will see the deadness in the church or the wackiness in the church, and they want nothing of it. But what they will do, they'll see something in the church that captivates them, and they'll be taking into it. And she describes what that is, okay? Says the intelligent youth of all countries are rapidly repudiating orthodox theology, state ecclesiasticism, and the control of the church. Okay, that's the bad guys. They are neither interested in man-made interpretation of truth nor in past quarrels between major world religions. No, the bad guys. At the same time, they are profoundly interested in the spiritual values and are earnestly seeking verification of the deep-seated, unvoiced recognitions. I'm talking about their sin nature, to be part of a group that feels significant. They look to no Bible system of so-called inspired knowledge and revelation, but their eyes are on undefined larger holes in which they seek to merge and lose themselves, such as the state and ideology or humanity itself. They want to lose themselves and become part of the state and be controlled by the state. Yeah. And now ideologies and humanity itself through wokeism. In this expression, the spirit of self-abnegation may be seen in the appearance, the deepest truth of all religions, in the justification of the Christian message. She's not talking about the Christian message. She's talking about the Luciferian message. She's not talking about the message of Jesus Christ on the cross. She's talking about get rid of that. And everybody become under group control. Everyone is service of the group. It's collectivism. And she goes on that Christ, her Antichrist, the Antichrist in his high place cares not whether men accept the theological interpretations of scholars or churchmen. He does care whether the keynote of life, sacrifice, and service are reproduced amongst men. What she's going on is you get the youth into this mindset that it's all about group, it's all about basically collectivism, Marxism, worship of the state, the betterment of humanity. Forget the Bible. Forget all this. Capture them, because you've seen the church is all messed up by the controlled opposition. So, you can't trust those people. And then the wackiness in the church, you can't trust them. So you're going to be flipped over to humanism, secularism, basically what she's saying. She goes on and says, therefore, the new world order, spirituality will supersede theology. Living experience will take place of theological acceptance. The spiritual realities will emerge, increasing clarity in the form aspect, okay? That's the good guys. They don't want any creedal barriers. They want only new emerging truths. Do you see how the church is being pitted in a rebellion against itself? I can't do anything about the derriere Christians or the heel Christians. I know they're necessary. Amen. They're brothers and sisters in Christ. But when you're sowing seeds of dissent into the church, where is your treasure? Where is your treasure? Why do I say that? Well, because people in the church have been hoodwinked by the hierarchy into a good cop, bad cop mindset that captures the treasure of your heart. So let me ask you this. Jesus said this. Just look what Jesus said on the screen. He said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So I'm going to ask you something, folks. Really ask you, where is your treasure? What do you really treasure? Is the Lord God the Father? Is he your real treasure? Or is it dogma? Is it ritual? Is it signs, wonders, miracles? Is it the prophetic? I could be somebody important if I had the prophetic. Do you treasure that more than the Father? Don't flip it around and say, I'm treasuring God by being this way. No, you're not. You're being played. So where your treasure is, there is your heart. How do we overcome this stuff? How do we conquer it? How do we fight it? Where your treasure is, there your heart is also. If you find out your heart is treasured more in dogma, browbeating, rituals, more into signs, wonders, and miracles and the prophetic, and you treasure that above all things, if you can at least admit to that, you can humble yourself in the sight of God, he'll hear and heal our land. So where is the treasure of your heart? We all need to get back and realize our true treasure is our Heavenly Father himself. And there's this interesting verse that comes from the book of Malachi. I'm bringing it up here. Chapter 4 and verses 5 and 6, the last verses of Malachi. Behold, I'll send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and strike the earth with a curse. Daisy Guzik's enduring word commentary reveals this about what Malachi chapter 4 is talking about. And he writes, and I quote, he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children. This promise speaks of more than reconciliation of families. When God turns the hearts of the children to their fathers, it also has in mind turning to the God of their fathers, to the faith of the patriarchs. Let's read it again. I'll send you Elijah the prophet before the great coming day and the dreadful day of the Lord, and he will turn the hearts of the fathers, God, to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, God, lest I come and strike the earth with a curse. You want to know what a last end-time revival is? Really? Okay, here it is. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Wow. So I ask again, where is your treasure? Where's your treasure in? So will be your heart. Your heart will be so focused. That's all you want. You'll be justifying your ways. Well, we don't want to be those religious people. I agree. I don't want to be a religious person, but I know they're important in the church. Leave them alone. God bless them. Let's stop the rebellion in the church. I'm all for signs and wonders, but we're not going to see true ones until the treasure of your heart is in the right place. Do you treasure the Father, treasure Jesus and the Holy Spirit above all things? But really, do you treasure the Father? That's what Jesus is asking. Do you treasure the Father? There your heart will be also. Jesus went about doing what? The Father's will. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you right now in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Lord, we all need to reevaluate where our treasure is in our hearts. We need to treasure who my mom and dad's, they worshiped you. I need to get back to worshiping you. And all of these people need to get back to worshiping who you are. They need to value and treasure you are, but they've been hoodwinked, they've been deceived. But I thank you in the name of Jesus Christ that you've given us authority and power over the works of the enemy. And that by this message, somehow, that somebody can see what they're doing and wake up and see that they treasure these things, this dogmatism, their doctrines and rituals and formulas and methods, more than they treasure you. They treasure seeking after signs, wonders, and this, that, and the other in the church more than you. They just need to come humbly before you and say, help me treasure you. Give me a reason to treasure you. Show me. I ask you to fill these people with the power of the Holy Spirit right now and just show them who you are. Reveal yourself to their hearts. That's all I'm asking, Heavenly Father. To look at these people, help them turn away from this stuff and stop the rebellion in the church, stop this good cop, bad cop stuff, and stop the counterfeits that are running amok. I'm asking for the remnant to be drawn out from amongst the profane, because there are people who are not going to listen. There's nothing we can do about it. But I'm asking you to draw your remnant into your fold, because we are approaching very dark days. We don't know how everything will swing or how things will go. But Heavenly Father, let them treasure you. I ask you to put in their hearts right now, to Bible up, to Bible up, to Bible up on the Bible. Sound doctrine. Teach what you say, because this is how we learn to treasure you. Not through wokeness, not through signs and wonders, but by Bibling up on your word. I ask that to be imparted and flow through each person who hears me in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.